Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Really glad to have this man back. Friend of mine, great sheriff of Pinal County, Arizona, at least for the next, 28 days, Mark. It's Sheriff Mark Lim. How are you?
I'm doing great, Joe. And man, just you saying that makes it even more surreal than it already is. After 8 years, I've loved this job, and it's hard to think that I'm not going to be there at the end of the month. But we'll see what the future holds.
We talked about this briefly before we started today. I didn't understand why you didn't run again. I thought maybe you were term limited out, but you said that literally you can't run for two offices at the same time, right?
Right. So both the sheriff's office and the Senate were both up for election this year. So I had to make a choice, and I chose to run for the Senate. Didn't win, but I couldn't run for both. So the guy that I promoted, the guy that I wanted to win, he won. And so the sheriff's office is going to be in good shape. But unfortunately, I won't be the sheriff.
It's got to be surreal. You were telling me that, you actually said here, this is your office now, and you guys swapped cars. So, the finality of it happens on December 31st, but it sounds like mentally you're prepared for it.
Mentally, I'm prepared for it. And I've had to make that mental change because, look, any decisions I make now would be unfair to him as the sheriff that's coming in. We're 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out. So, look, that would be just not good of me as a sheriff to say, well, let's make all these decisions now. I've basically kind of turned it over to him and said, look, man, hey, this is your agency in the next month. If you need help, I'm here. If not, then I'll be on my way at the end of the month.
It's a job that you've done so well. People know you from not only from Live PD, but you've been very active when President Trump was in the office. You were there with him as part of the sheriff's group to make sure that he heard directly from you all. I would imagine that the sky is the limit for you, and I mean this sincerely. You could go the TV route if you wanted to, because the cop shows are still very, very popular, or you can go the governmental route. Have you heard from anybody in the incoming the transition team for the Trump campaign or the Trump administration?
Well, I was in Europe on a cruise. I don't know if that was smart or not, but I was in Europe, and I was getting towards the end there, I got a couple messages, couple calls. And so we'll see what happens. I think this week is a pivotal week. They got all the secretaries, all the cabinet positions filled.
Right.
Now they have to go along and start filling the director positions of all the different things.
Yes.
Look, I never did anything I did, Joe, for a job. I wasn't doing that. I supported President Trump, and I supported his policies because I feel like he was right for America. And I think most clearly by the election felt the same way. But I am here to help. I'm a patriot at heart. And if I can help in any way on the federal level, I'd be more than honored to do that. But, look, life will be good, sweet for me no matter what. And I'm looking forward for what the future brings.
SheriffLam.com is the website, SheriffLam.com, Pinal County Sheriff, at least for now, Mark Lam. I want you to be part of the administration. I pray that you're part of the administration. You and I have talked over the years, through the Trump years, through the Biden years, for God's sakes, and the stark difference in the support you got from the federal government under Trump and the support you didn't get under Biden. Explain that to those watching, listening, if you don't mind. It went from full-on communication and you had somebody's ear immediately to nothing?
That's exactly what happened, Joe. It was night and day difference. And I explained this to people. As a sheriff in Pinal County, I'm not, I'm the third largest county population-wise in the state of Arizona, certainly not the largest county in the country. But I went to the White House 10 times for different things under the Trump administration. As sheriffs, we had a seat at the table. When we were dealing with crime or the border in particular, we had a seat at the table, and President Trump and his administration worked hand in hand with local law enforcement and the sheriffs. That ended immediately on January 21st. 4 years ago when the Biden administration, they just stopped that. And to my knowledge, I don't think over the 4 years they met with a single sheriff in this country, not just Republicans, Democrats alike. I don't think they met with any sheriffs. It shows you they had no interest in working with local law enforcement or solving the problems that Americans are facing, not just on a federal level, but on a local level. They weren't interested in doing that.
So when Trump was in, I know that you spoke directly with Trump many times. Did you speak directly with the DHS secretary? Did you talk to Chad Wolf? Did you talk to the ICE people? Was it a constant open line of communication?
Absolutely. Before Chad Wolf, before I think it was Kristen Anderson.
Right.
We talked to Tom Homan. We had a constant connection, and even on few levels down, we had a connection. On the state level, we had really good, we still have good relationships on a state level, But beyond the state level, we had great relationships. That all changed with the Biden administration. The DC level, they didn't care. We didn't have any more relationships, no more meetings. And when they came to talk to you at the major county sheriffs, which was only once or twice, they talked at you. They didn't really talk at you. They talked at you. And that's a big difference.
Well, have you ever spoken to Joe Biden?
No.
Kamala Harris?
Neither one. Nope.
No, you did at one point, because I believe I remember you saying you were able to get a question to Mayorkas, no?
Not only did I get a question, I had a one-on-one with Mayorkas a few years ago. And then I actually questioned him, asked him and Director Wray in the same meeting some very hard questions, some very poignant questions about the things that were concerning Americans, the trust that Americans had for the FBI.
Right.
I asked Mayorkas questions about the border. I asked him to stop funding the NGOs, to get this messaging. These are things that were happening, but they were doing the bidding of Biden and the Harris administration, whoever's behind it. Those people had a plan, and Wray and Mayorkas were executing that plan, and it wasn't good for America.
The fentanyl still flowing across the border, Mark?
It is flowing across the border, and we just had a meeting with our guy that runs our anti-smuggling unit, and he was telling us that they're getting used to Trump coming in. And what that means is they're going to start pushing it through the way they used to push it through under the Trump administration. They pushed it through the Indian reservation and through the desert areas. We're already starting to see, we're getting intel that they have scouts in the mountains again, that they're starting to push these groups through, that they're carrying backpacks, which probably contain your hard drugs like fentanyl, methamphetamines, cocaine, that type of stuff. So we are already seeing that shift. We're seeing that push to get people in before the Trump administration takes over. But these are routes they've had since the Pancho Villa times, Joe.
Right.
And what they're doing is they're just reactivating routes that they didn't need under the Biden administration, because they can just cross over the border and then just come in and nobody stopped them. Now
Amazing.
They've got to go back to trying to sneak people in, do it the old way that they've been doing it. And we're already seeing that change with the cartels.
It's Sheriff Mark Lamb, Pinal County, Arizona. Go to sherifflamb.com, sherifflamb.com. Check out everything he's doing. And I, again, hope that you're part of the government. But, again, you could be a huge TV star if you wanted to be as well. I love that these opportunities are open for you. When it comes to what Trump just did with the 25% tariff, he told Mexico and Canada, I'm adding a 25% tariff to everything. The Mexican president, in 40 minutes, made an announcement that she's closing the border, and Justin Trudeau jumped on a jet and went to Mar-a-Lago. I mean, Mark, it was that simple. This is something Biden could have done for the past 4 years to get action from our border partners, no?
Exactly right, Joe. And here's what I've always said. Evil is aroused by weakness.
Yes.
Weakness arouses evil. And what we saw was a weak administration in Biden and Harris. And so the rest of the world, they didn't care. They took advantage of America. They didn't care if America was willing. There was no teeth behind it. Now that Trump's back in, just the mere notion that those tariffs, they know that he'll do it. And so what do? They act immediately to change things. Just his winning the election. He's not even in office yet. We are already seeing things on a global level, and certainly here in America, that are already changing and moving back into the right direction. The world is getting right again, even though the Biden administration still is trying to jack things up in Ukraine and in the Middle East. But I think everybody realizes this is what's going to happen. You're going to have to get in line with America, or it's not going to go well.
Did you hear what Justin Trudeau said to Trump at Mar-a-Lago yesterday?
No.
He said, well, what he said was, if you do this 25% tariff, you're going to crush our economy. And Trump's response was, well, why don't you just become the 51st state and we'll take care of you? I mean,
classic.
Mark, he just doesn't care. Trump doesn't care in the best possible way, because he's actually looking at world leaders now and saying, we're going to take care of us first, and if you're not going to be on board, you're going to suffer the consequences. Why hasn't this happened for the past 4 years? What in your heart of hearts, as a sheriff, as a father, as a husband, as a guy, what do you think the goal was here? To pretend like America was an also-ran, that we're not exceptional, that we don't really matter. How can you possibly be an American in leadership and want that?
Globalism, socialism. It's all about globalism. The way you do globalism is first of all, you take God out of the country, which they've worked hard to do. And then you talk about America not being great. And basically you say socialism's good. We should take care of all the less fortunate. And look, none of us disagree, but you
Right.
can't do it in the socialist way, the communistic way that they wanted to do it. The difference is that America puts Trump puts America first. And so it's not that he doesn't care about those other countries. He
Right.
just cares about America. He wants America first. And I think everybody wants that. That's why he won the popular vote. That's why he won the Electoral College. He has a mandate from the American people that says, yes, we want America first too. And that's the difference. And it's not, look, he's not adversarial to those countries. He's just
Right.
saying, look, we're not going to make decisions that aren't good for America anymore. And that's how the other administration was more globalistic. They didn't care about Americans. They put everybody else but Americans first.
Well, I can give you a perfect example that I heard today that shows that you're 100% right. Biden today, I just heard a report a little while ago, is giving $1 billion in humanitarian relief to Africa. Now, I don't dislike Africa. We should help out Africa if we can. Fine. But there are people in Western North Carolina still don't have running water after Helene came through. There are people that are still waiting to hear from FEMA. I mean, when Kamala Harris shows up and offers $750, you ought to apply for that, and a lot of people got denied that money. We're sending free money to Africa after $200 billion to Ukraine. So I think that makes your point, no?
Yeah. Look, Colorado, $356 million they spent on illegals.
Come on.
And here's another, I've always said this on many interviews, Joe. Here's a news flash. We're broke. We're $34 trillion in debt. We don't have the money to be giving $1 billion. Look, I get it. You want to help. Let's get our own house in order, first of all, and then we can start to put ourselves in a position to help other people. But right now, we are not in a position to be helping other people the way that this last administration has done. They have done it at the cost of the American people, and then they come back to us and want to tax us even more money for things that don't even affect America. They don't benefit America.
Right. Exactly right. It's Sheriff Mark Lamb. Go to sherifflamb.com. Follow him over on X. It's Sheriff Lamb 1, isn't it? Isn't there a 1 in there?
Yeah, Sheriff Lamb 1. I think Sheriff Lamb was already taken, so I had to take Sheriff Lamb 1 on X. But yeah, go to Sheriff Lamb.
Go follow him there.
I got to send you a bobblehead, Joe.
I don't have one. Let's go. I mean, what is that all about? You've got bobbleheads available?
When you're done, shoot me your address. I'm going to send you a bobblehead.
I will do that. All right, so let's talk about the job of the incoming DHS Secretary, Kristi Noem. Let's talk about the job of Tom Homan. I had Tom Homan on. He's like, get the hell out of my way. We're just going to send them all back. He just doesn't care. Again, the best possible way for America. I know what Tom will do, but what do you think job one is for the DHS Secretary when it comes to the border specifically? Is it pick up the phone or get on a plane and go meet with all the border sheriffs? What do you do immediately?
Well, I think immediately she's got to work on her own agencies, Border Patrol, CBP, ICE. She's got to show them that she supports them and get them marching in the direction they know they need to go. These people know how to do their job. They just need the handcuffs taken off of them. So she needs to show them that the handcuffs are off. Then she can come to us and start to say, hey, we could use some help. We're here to help. But I think she really needs to make sure that her own people are on board with the mission and with where she wants to go first. And so that would be my advice is, look, get out there, show the Border Patrol people, CBP, ICE, HSI, all of the people in DHS, that you are going to be a leader that supports them, that allows them to do their job, that will enforce the law like Title VIII, which says you can't come into this country illegally. I think all those things are the key to her success. And then once she has them on board, you get the local people, we jump on board, we're going to have success in securing this border and getting America back.
I couldn't agree more. You know, it's interesting. Something you said in the very beginning and then throughout what your answer just now was so important. I've talked to law enforcement, you on down. I've talked to people. My dad was a civil servant. He was a fireman. If you don't have the support of leadership, why do the job? Why put yourself at risk? Like a lot of these Border Patrol agents are afraid they might face charges if they take action to stop people illegally coming in. Then they wanted this stupid bipartisan border thing that wouldn't have fixed anything. They wanted to add 1,500 more just to administer to the people coming in, not stop people from coming in. It's like, if I'm on that job, I would have left the job. And there was a big push before the election, as you probably know. They said a lot of Border Patrol agents said, I'm going to retire. I'm going to change jobs. They're just going to leave. I'm certainly not going to re-sign and stay on this job. If she's the boss, they won't support us. So that's really job one. If Kristi Noem shows them, I will do what it takes to help you do your job, she's golden.
Yes. And to your point, Joe, the intentional action that they took, Mayorkas and his administration took early on, was to go after the horse guys, the Border Patrol agents.
Right, and they lied about them.
And they lied about them, and they punished them, and they never said you're sorry when they were found to be not guilty, which we all knew they weren't guilty anyway.
Right.
But that was the message they sent. The shot they fired across the bow of the ship to say, don't you dare get out of line, and don't you dare try to do your job, or we're going to hold you accountable. And so Kristi Noem coming in and saying, that's not how this is going to be under my administration. We're going to support you in doing your job. We know how you guys know how to do the job. We're taking the handcuffs off. Go do your job, and we'll be there to support you.
That's great.
Take the bullets for you on the backside.
And it's worth mentioning that in that Senate hearing, it was Kamala Harris herself was alleging that it looked like Nazi Germany or like the KKK. And we knew from the photographer day one, Mark, you know this, the photographer said, no, it was a bad angle. They didn't whip anybody. They were nowhere near hitting them with it. So they knew early on. Then Mayorkas comes out and Biden comes out. We're not going to go back to the way it used to be, and they're all going to pay with their jobs, or they're going to be held to pay. And you're right. They never ever exonerated them like publicly by saying, "Hey, we saw a bad angle on that picture. They didn't really do what we thought they did." They never ever gave them that okay that you didn't do what we said, our bad, keep on doing your job well. It's Sheriff Mark Lamb. Go to sherifflamb.com. Give me maybe 30 seconds on this. What's your take on governors, mayors, on local officials saying we're not going to help President Trump get people who broke the law to get here out of here?
Well, first of all, I am a 10th Amendment guy. I like states' rights. I think that's what the founding fathers wanted. But the leftist mayors have pushed so hard to say that immigration is a federal issue. Look, they went against Arizona when we passed our bill 1070 back in 2011. They're fighting against Texas, saying, no, immigration is a federal issue. Well, now when the federal government steps in and says, okay, you're right, we're going to do it, now they're saying, oh, no, we're not going to participate. So, look,
it's so stupid, Mark.
It's one more hypocritical action on the part of the left. They're wrong. They can't stand in the way of Title VIII. And I think they could potentially be putting themselves where they're breaking the law federally by harboring people that have broken a federal law.
Right.
They push to say this is a federal issue. Well, now guess what? You're going to have to live with it.
Exactly right. I mean, what a great point. I think they're aiding and abetting. If they warn them, certainly, hey, the feds are coming, ICE is coming. That's harboring and aiding and abetting. So they could be in really, really big trouble. Right now, it's probably just a lot of lip service, and I hope that they don't do what they say they're going to do. But the feds have every right to come in and get people who broke the law out of here. It's Sheriff Mark Lamb, sherifflamb.com. Thanks a million, brother. Keep us updated if there's a position for you in this government, and I appreciate you coming on today.
I will. And send me your address so I can get you that bobblehead.
We'll get it done, Mark. We appreciate you. We're back after this. Stay right here.